Do you ever just want to just come in here and start messing with stuff?
Big time.
Way back in January, I asked my friend Karen, who's a location scout for film and TV, I asked her to help me find a place to work on my rebuild. It's a nasty New England winter, I'm not going to go anywhere, seems like a good time to get some projects done, except that the weather's terrible. There's a lot of things I can do inside the bus, but I wanted to do the floor. The only way to do that is to take everything out, which means putting it in the driveway, and that means everything gets wrecked by rain and by snow. I put it out there in a video, a barn, warehouse, anything, and I got some responses from a few people offering help. Thank you, Wendy and Pete. They both offered great places to work, but in both cases, the garages just weren't tall enough. Then I heard from Karen that she'd found a place. She said it was a little farther than I had hoped to go, but she also said it was awesome. And she was right. So Justin and I drove up there for the first time on February 8th. That's how long ago it was. And we met Erik, who owns and occupies the building with his business, and he turned out to be the coolest, most laid-back guy. And the place, wow, the place. It's my kind of place, industrial, steampunk heaven, the beams, the giant windows, the crane, wow. I knew that before we were finished, I was going to make Erik tell me all about the place. But first, we got to work. Over the next 2 weeks, we got the floor and a bunch of other stuff done. 2 weeks is a little longer than we had actually agreed on, but Erik was totally cool with it, and he said it wasn't a problem. He said that we could stay and do more projects. Great guy. You know that old saying, no good deed goes unpunished? Well, it's never been more true than in this case. Erik signed up for 2 weeks, and he had to put up with me or my stuff for about 4.5 months. First it was the weather, then there was a mechanical issue, that was 2 weeks, then the freak accident, a truck dropped concrete and I hit it and blew up my tires, and don't ask me how that turned into 7 weeks, but it did. Again, Erik was gracious and awesome, and I kept thinking I'd get Max back any day. So when I finally got Max back, I discovered another problem, but I decided once and for all to get out of Erik's hair. I had to rent a U-Haul van to do it. I got the van loaded up, and then I went and found Erik, and I popped the question, show me around. It was my last chance to get the big tour.
Hi, my name is Erik. I'm the owner of this building here and one of the companies that occupies it. And I've been working now with Mary for a few months now in her process to get her bus rebuilt and refinished on the inside.
Way too long, right?
It's been a long process for you. Luckily for me, it was just a matter of giving you a spot in the corner to do your thing. This building's been in the family now for 35 years. As you can probably get from just looking around at some of the old architectural clues, goes back to the 1860s. It was actually built by Frank Slater for the Slater Steam Works. There's different stories out there. Some say he built steam locomotives. I know people in the railroad world, they don't agree with that. Within this town, there are many other companies that have wonderful documentation of what they did, how they did it. But for this company, there's not a whole lot of information. There's just a simple, I think, 3-sentence blurb about the company, and that's all that exists in the Historical Society records. From the literature I've been able to track down, what they made were stationary steam locomotives. If you think back to the late 1800s, electricity hadn't come into play. The reliance was on water, and water being something that would come and go, steam became a way to generate energy and then transfer it through belt drives. By the early 1900s, his business wasn't doing as well, as the electricity was starting to be run through power poles around the country. And eventually he closed down. And that's when a successor company came along and they took over the building for about 100 years. Then after their sort of cycle of life, as many companies kind of run, my father-in-law saw the opportunity, was able to purchase it, fix it up, and then he had a company he had started and took foot here. Unfortunately, he's passed over the past few years. But luckily there was some family who was able to step in, and myself included, enjoy the process of working here and what we do.
So I see all these really amazing windows up here. Was this how they lit the place?
Most likely, the building's been expanded on several times through the years, and the brick wall that's just beyond your shot here was originally the original exterior wall, and you can see with the high window bays that would have been the primary source for light. And then obviously the windows that you referenced up above, the clerestory windows, which is the architectural term for them, would have just let light deeper into the space. Today, we've actually built a second set of windows on the outside of it, only because the heat loves to escape through that glass and the water loves to come in. So this is the original crane that they would use to move the large pieces of steel around. It actually runs on a piece of railroad rail that's on either side above the beam and runs the full length of the building.
Wow.
It's old school electronics. Kind of reminds me of the Frankenstein movie with sparks flying and arcs going everywhere. It runs to this day. It hasn't run in a while.
How much weight do you think this thing can lift?
This one's rated for 25 tons.
That's like
50,000 pounds.
Yeah, that's like would be like 5 of max.
Yep. We received a large piece of machinery that was probably about 15,000 pounds in itself. The guy driving the truck thought that this wasn't going to do the trick and was kind of making fun of the situation. Well, wouldn't you know it, he actually forgot to undo a strap. And when we went to lift the piece of machinery, the tractor trailer was lifted along with it.
What are we looking at here?
We're looking at some of ancient technology that still works to this day, an AC to DC converter.
Well, everybody has those in their RVs and buses.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Here's
Ours are not big like this,
no.
though.
Here basically is the control panel. Think of your iPhone and all the little circuitry. Well, here's the 1800s version of that circuitry.
Do you ever just want to like just come in here and start messing with stuff?
Big time. As much as I want to, I also respect the energy that's present here. So basically here would be the 3 controls, and what you would have is travel. You'd have the crane body moving forward and backwards, and then you would have the crane lowering or raising. So each of these 3 do those, and you get a breakdown here, and then you get a bell as well. So
Wow.
as you're moving along, you can give some people a heads up. And then you can kind of catch it here along the back wall or the wires that run the length, which transfer the electricity as you're traveling along.
Right. Wow.
The operator has the ability to engage or disengage the power coming in to the cab. And this here is the knife switch that allows you to engage or disengage that power feed that was coming from those AC to DC generators. In the morning, as the light is first coming through those clerestory windows, before you turn on the lights, the place has just an amazing ambiance to it. It's a challenge in sort of learning things that were created for my father-in-law and keeping that tradition alive. And at the same time, I get to go jump, and if I feel like welding something up, this is my father-in-law taught me how to weld, so I'll go out and do some welding, obviously to accomplish something we need for the company, but also just something I take a lot of joy and pride in.
So the big secret is this is basically your playground.
Yes, don't tell anyone, but well, and if what you're doing doesn't have some element of that in it, either get a better hobby afterwards or rethink what you're doing, because I think within everyone's sort of everyday routine there should be something special about it.
Yellow leaf fall like helicopter blades. Yellow leaf fall, yellow leaf fall. Come on, you words, come and take your places. Everything changes, everything changes. After the sun, the wind will come, and the wind will come.
I love the way he said that. I have skills. I could do a different job and make some real money, but I do this because I love this. I don't even know what's a job and what's a hobby anymore at this point. I hope you've got something you feel that way about. But anyway,